The average American household holds about 3 days of food at any given moment. Meanwhile, archaeologists have pulled sealed jars of honey from Egyptian tombs that were still safe to eat thousands of years after they were buried. These are the stockpile staples that hold for 30 years or more, and you almost certainly already own at least one of them, but don't know how magnificent it truly is. I checked the public record so you don't have to. Start with honey itself. Raw honey, properly sealed, never expires. The chemistry is ruthless. Honey contains almost no free water. Its low pH and the gluconic acid bees produced during nectar conversion create an environment so hostile that bacteria can't establish, mold can't develop, yeast can't ferment. Crystallization isn't spoilage. That's just glucose dropping out of suspension, and a warm water bath returns the jar to liquid. The brand to know first is Nature Nate's single-ingredient honey from American beekeepers, Chef's Best Excellence Award in 2020, and in the Kitchen's 2025 ranking it took the top spot among 11 widely tested store brands. The second name is Sioux Bee, the consumer label of the Sioux Honey Association, a beekeeper-owned cooperative founded in 1921 in Sioux City, Iowa. Buy Sioux Bee and your dollars route back to U.S. apiaries, not import middlemen. Read the label, one ingredient. Honey Blend is not honey. If you enjoy this content, subscribe, because what's next should be in everyone's kitchen: white rice. Brigham Young University ran storage trials sampling polished white rice held from 1 to 30 years. And Utah State University Extension's published guidance is plain. White rice retains its nutrients and flavor for 30 years, sealed in oxygen-free containers at 70 degrees or below. The science is the milling itself. Strip the bran and germ, and you strip the oils that turn rancid. Riceland, the world's largest rice miller, headquartered in Stuttgart, Arkansas, and farmer-owned since 1921, states it on its own corporate FAQ. White rice products have nearly indefinite shelf lives. The company intentionally does not print expiration dates on its white rice. That is a manufacturer putting that statement in the public record. The supermarket pick is Mahatma by Riviana Foods out of Houston, long grain in nearly every U.S. grocery aisle at a price that lets you actually build a stockpile. The third rice brand carries an extra layer of evidence. In May 2025, the nonprofit Healthy Babies Bright Futures published What's in Your Family's Rice, a lab analysis of 145 samples from over 100 brands. Arsenic was detected in every single one. More than 1 in 4 exceeded the FDA's safety limit for infant rice cereal, but the report identified California-grown rice as testing consistently lower in heavy metals than rice grown in the southeastern U.S. Lundberg family farms. Richvale, California, a 4-generation operation since 1937, is the most prominent California-grown brand on the U.S. market. Same 30-year shelf life, lower contaminant load. Brown rice is the trap. Bran intact, oils intact, rancid in about 6 months at room temperature. White only, mylar, oxygen absorbers. From a grain that doesn't expire to the mineral civilizations we're built on. Salt. Pure salt has no biological mechanism for spoilage. There is nothing in it for bacteria to consume. The word salary traces to the Latin word for salt, because salt was payment, currency, and preservation infrastructure at once. Redmond real salt is mined from a Jurassic-era seabed roughly 370 feet underground near Redmond, Utah, by Redmond Minerals, an operation that began in 1958 when brothers Milo and Lamar Bosshart, facing drought on their farm, gambled on excavation equipment and hit a buried mountain of salt. The company's own product page states it plainly: real salt never expires. Real salt doesn't expire because natural salt without additives doesn't ever go bad. That is the brand on the record. Morton Salt, founded 1848, produces about 30 million tons annually, and introduced nationally distributed iodized salt in 1924, addressing iodine deficiency that had reached up to 70% of children in the U.S. Degoiter Belt. For storage, you want Morton's plain non-iodized canning or pickling salt. The iodized version's additives break down in about 5 years, from a mineral that preserves food to a food that preserves itself, sugar. Utah State Extension and USDA both list pure granulated sugar as having indefinite shelf life due to resistance to microbial growth, including molds. Sugar can harden, but it doesn't spoil. C&H Sugar, founded 1906 in Crockett, California, is one of the oldest American cane sugar producers. Pure cane, single ingredient. Domino, founded 1900 and produced by American Sugar Refining, is the eastern counterpart. Granulated, light brown, confectioners, all indefinite when sealed. And sugar is a preservation tool, not just a sweetener. That's the principle behind every jam holding for months without refrigeration. Sugar pulls moisture away from bacteria. Store it sealed in glass or food-grade plastic and skip the oxygen absorbers. They turn sugar into a brick. From sweetness as a preservative to acidity as a preservative, vinegar. The Vinegar Institute states distilled white vinegar's shelf life is almost indefinite because acetic acid is self-preserving. Heinz, founded in Pittsburgh in 1869, has produced distilled white vinegar as one of its oldest continuous products, 5% acidity, single ingredient. Bragg Apple Cider Vinegar, founded by Paul Bragg in 1912 out of Goleta, California, is the leading raw, unfiltered ACV on U.S. shelves. The cloudy mother in the bottle is intact culture and is supposed to be there. A few jugs of either covers cooking, pickling, household cleaning, and food preservation simultaneously. No refrigeration. Cool, dark storage, the most undervalued staple in any serious pantry, comes next. Wheat berries. Here's the distinction. Flour goes stale within months because milling cracks open every kernel and exposes the oils to oxygen. The clock starts immediately, but intact wheat berries, the whole unprocessed kernel, hull preserved, have those oils sealed away. Stored airtight in a cool environment, wheat berries hold 30 years or longer without losing the ability to be ground into fresh flour the day you need it. Bob's Red Mill, headquartered in Milwaukee, Oregon, became 100% employee-owned when founder Bob Moore signed the company over to his staff on his 81st birthday in 2010. The product line includes organic hard red spring, hard red winter, and white wheat berries, single grain, no additives, whole berries, mylar with oxygen absorbers. 3 decades later, you grind fresh flour from grain that has been sitting on your shelf since before your kids were born. That is real infrastructure. Breakfast is the easiest category to lock in for 30 years, and the brand to know is Quaker Oats. The Quaker brand dates to 1877, and the Cedar Rapids, Iowa mill is the largest cereal mill complex in the world. Properly sealed rolled oats hold for 30 years or more in airtight containers in cool, dry conditions. No bran oil profile to go rancid the way brown rice does, no moisture to invite mold. Old-fashioned rolled or steel cut. Skip the instant flavored packets. The added sugars, oils, and dehydrated dairy in those pouches drag the shelf life down to a couple of years and turn a clean staple into a compromised one. Soluble fiber, iron, B vitamins, and calorie density without weight. Mylar with oxygen absorbers for long-term, a sealed canister for the rolling pantry. Oatmeal in the morning, oat flour in the afternoon, oat binder in a meatloaf at night. 1 grain, 3 decades. Protein is the next gap, and the answer is dried beans and lentils. Utah State Extension confirms that dried legumes stored airtight, cool, and dry retain edibility for 30 years. Older beans simply require longer soak and longer cook times. The everyman pick is Goya Foods, headquartered in Jersey City, founded in 1936 and the largest Hispanic-owned U.S. food company. Dried black beans, pinto, garbanzos, lentils, in nearly every supermarket in the country, all single ingredient. The quality tier pick is Camellia brand out of New Orleans, run by L.H. Hayward and Company since 1923. Camellia uses a proprietary Hayward's Best grading system, stricter than USDA No. 1, the kind of process discipline you can't reverse engineer from packaging. Single ingredient dried beans. Skip the pre-seasoned blends. Those seasonings cap the shelf life at a year or two. Lentils cook fastest of the legumes, which matters when fuel is rationed. Dairy survives in powder form, and most stockpilers skip it. USDA Cooperative Extension research confirms that non-fat dry milk in sealed containers with oxygen absorbers retains nutritional viability for 20 years or longer. The widely available pick is Nestlé Nido, the powdered whole milk Nestlé has produced since 1944 and now sells in over 100 countries, usually parked in the international or ethnic foods aisle of American supermarkets. The engineered storage pick is Augason Farms Morning Moose, packaged in No. 10 cans out of Salt Lake City with a stated 25-year shelf life under proper storage. After opening, transfer the contents into Mylar with an oxygen absorber to extend freshness. Coffee, cereal, baking, soups, sauces. Once you have powdered milk on the shelf, half the pantry stops feeling thin. The next item is psychological as much as practical. Instant coffee. Sealed, freeze-dried instant coffee retains its potency for 20 years or more past the printed date. Freeze-drying drops moisture content to near zero, and without moisture, there's no oxidation pathway. The standard brand is Nescafé Taster's Choice. Nescafé invented soluble coffee in 1938, and Taster's Choice is the leading freeze-dried instant in U.S. supermarkets. Glass jar storage is fine on its own. The reason it earns shelf space is harder to quantify. In a long disruption, when routines have collapsed and everything around you feels uncertain, a hot cup of coffee in the morning is a small, familiar anchor. That is not a luxury concern. Morale directly affects judgment, and judgment is the one thing you cannot stockpile. The silent killer of long stockpiles is not running out of food, it's running out of flavor. Day 6 of plain rice and beans, you are nourished and you are quietly losing the will to eat. The fix is concentrated flavor with negligible weight. Better than bouillon, made by Summit Hill Foods, out of Reading, Pennsylvania, is a concentrated paste base, chicken, beef, vegetable, mushroom, that performs well past printed dates unopened, and once opened, it refrigerates for months. Knorr Bouillon Cubes, a brand founded in Germany in 1838, hold for 5 to 10 years, sealed in their foil, and weigh almost nothing per unit of flavor. 1 cube dissolved into a bowl of plain rice and lentils transforms the entire experience. Same calories, same nutrition, but the meal feels like a meal. That distinction is not trivial. That distinction is what keeps people functioning over months instead of cracking in weeks. The category most stockpilers skip entirely is fat, and that gap will collapse a pantry faster than any of the others. Without fat, your body cannot absorb vitamins A, D, E, or K. Calories from grains and legumes alone leave you functioning but malnourished, and meals stop satisfying within days. Pure Indian Foods, headquartered in Princeton, New Jersey, was the first USDA-certified organic grass-fed ghee in America, a family operation tracing back to 1889 in India. Ghee has the milk solids removed, which drops water content low enough that USDA classifies it as shelf-stable at room temperature for extended periods. That is rare. Most fats need refrigeration. Ghee goes on the shelf. The second name is California Olive Ranch, the largest U.S.-grown olive oil producer, headquartered in Chico, California. The brand stamps a harvest date on every bottle, which most olive oil producers do not. That detail matters. The 2010 UC Davis Olive Center study tested commercial extra virgin olive oils sold in California and found that 69% of imported samples failed International Olive Council standards for extra virgin. California Olive Ranch tested as authentic. Olive oil holds best in cool, dark storage. Rotate every 2 to 3 years. Ghee holds longer. The closer most viewers already own, peanut butter. 2 tablespoons deliver roughly 190 calories and 8 grams of protein, plus healthy unsaturated fats, magnesium, niacin, vitamin E, and potassium. Jif, produced by the J.M. Smucker Company out of Lexington, Kentucky, is America's #1 peanut butter brand by volume. And the Lexington plant is the world's largest peanut butter facility. J.M. Smucker is a 130-year-old Ohio company. Conventional Jif holds longer than natural ingredient peanut butters because the stabilizers prevent oil separation, and unopened jars perform well past printed dates with no refrigeration. Open the jar, eat with a spoon. No water, no heat, no equipment. When everything else asks something of you, peanut butter asks nothing. The final tier is engineered specifically for decades. Mountain House, headquartered in Albany, Oregon, originally developed freeze-dried meals for the U.S. military in the 1960s. The brand now holds over 70% of the U.S. outdoor freeze-dried meal market, according to the Outdoor Industry Association. Mountain House publishes the only 30-year taste guarantee in the industry, validated by Oregon State University third-party sensory testing, and the brand has verified product quality in samples 37 to 44 years old. Augason Farms, 50-plus years in business out of Salt Lake City, sells number 10 cans and pails at Walmart, Costco, and Amazon, with per-product shelf life published on its website. Most cans rated for 25 to 30 years. Both brands recommend storage between 55 and 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Mountain House for tested longevity, Augason for budget-driven depth. The common thread across every brand on this list is simple: single ingredients, transparent sourcing, decades of operating record, shelf life backed by USDA, extension research, university testing, or brand-stated guarantees on the public record. Read the ingredient list before the front-of-pack claim. Indefinite shelf life requires single ingredient products, stockpile non-iodized canning salt for storage, white rice not brown, whole wheat berries not flour, mylar with oxygen absorbers for grains and legumes, harvest-dated olive oil. Build the rolling supply with foods you actually eat. Rotate the oldest first. Most American households are 3 days of food away from a real problem. Building a quiet supply of staples that hold for 30 years is the cheapest, most boring, most effective form of household insurance there is. And the best time to start is the next grocery trip, not the next emergency.